we live?
Now we are live.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We're gonna social distance.
We are. And then we are going to take off our masks so you can actually hear us and understand us. You guys know doors are open. We just want to start off by saying thank you guys. Whew, this is tough. It is really hard. I mean, being a parent and figuring out working and all of the above. And I have so much respect for you guys parenting in this new kind of pressure cooker reality. So thank you for keeping our kids safe, for modeling good behavior for them, and figuring out our way through this craziness.
And going with the flow because things have changed so much. We were supposed to have a fishing derby tonight. We were going to get everybody to go to Delta and do something fun in honor of Father's Day, which is coming up. But instead, Becca and I thought we'd have a conversation about prudent parenting and child development. But you guys are doing a lot of going as you flow and being flexible, and thank you, because I can't imagine what that's like in your homes.
So prudent parenting is something we've talked about, and we throw that terminology around a lot, but we want to talk with you guys about what that means. And so it means a lot of things. It's all about getting kids to do just normal childhood activities, and be able to participate in things and be a kid. You know, not just be that kid that's labeled in foster care and can't do things, but get to go do. We have so many amazing examples of you guys getting out there. We had 2 families go to Mexico over spring break right before the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. We had a kid who got to swim in the ocean for the first time. So cool. You know, we've had another kid who's got his driver's license this year. And you guys, I could just go on and on. We've had families that have gone on camping trips, that have gone rafting, that go biking, go climbing, you know, get out and do all sorts of cool things. We have kids participate in sports at school, which we love, that get their names in their paper. Even really simple family stuff. Christmas cards. In the office here, we have kind of cards plastered around, adoption announcements, Christmas cards, different things, and getting to do, you know, just those normal family and kid stuff.
So I've been doing this long enough that this is a big change for those of you who have been along this journey with me. You didn't get used to do that kind of stuff, and I think the act itself, the Prudent Parenting Standard Act, is about letting kids in foster care feel a little bit more a part of the family. So I'm going to read. The U.S. Congress has defined reasonable and prudent parenting standard as characterized by careful and sensible parental decisions that maintain the health, safety, and best interests of the child, while at the same time encouraging the emotional and developmental growth for the child.
So some big things to remember in this is what is age and developmentally appropriate. So even, you know, I took my kids out on the river on paddleboards last weekend, but they both know how to swim. They're both really solid swimmers, you know, comfortable in the river. This is something that we do. Kathy, what are you doing with all of the bubbles?
I'm sorry, those who've gone through training in the last few years, it's all about not being in a bubble. So, did you do that in a bubble? With your kids, maybe, but with foster kids, absolutely not.
No, so with foster kids, you know, prior approval. It's how you're able to do these things. So we have to, you know, talk with DHS. If biological parents are involved and appropriate, they talk to biological parents, they talk to the GALs, our guardian ad litems, and that's how we don't get in trouble. That's how you're able to, you know, do fun activities, but in a safe way.
So I sent an email out. I'm hoping that you're going to get some questions to Christy on the little comment section. Are they asking yet?
They said they love the bubbles. I wanted to remind them. I put it in the comments, but put that you are here.
Yes, so that we can
Excuse me,
give you
guys.
credit.
And then I asked, has any one of you got out of the house lately? What have you done? The Leonards said they just went camping, which is good. That's a great social distancing thing.
Great social distancing, and we live in the perfect place to do that.
Do you have to get permission for each and every activity? Permission for rock climbing and permission for being on the river, etc.
It's a good question. Becca?
So yes and no, and it depends on how you get permission. So we do have an aerial high-risk waiver form. DHS has their own, so I've seen kind of a combination of it, and it depends on how it's written. Generally, if it's something your family does consistently, so camping is a great one. We've gone camping 3 times this year, and as long as, you know, it's in Colorado, staying kind of in Colorado, you know, that's verbal permission from the caseworker just so people know where we're at. Not a big deal, but you don't have to get special permission for kind of doing camping activities. And so if on the camping activities you got pre-approval that, you know, every time we go camping, we bring our paddle boards and we go out there and they go swimming and we bring bikes, you know, or if you're that family that does rock climbing and it's age appropriate for your kids, you know, it can be that one-time permission, and then you do have to get, you know, again, that verbal just so that they know if you're going out of county. Out of state, we do have to get court permission for that piece, so it takes a little bit more time. I was super stoked when I did supervision with my case managers this morning. Taryn was impressed that we had a Delta County caseworker who, even though the family asked on Thursday, was able to same day turn it around so that a family could go to Utah. Please know we're super impressed because that is the exception. The more warning you can give us, the better. If we can have a little heads up, it makes it easier. But we've had that twice now. I had Rio Blanco get me permission for my family to go out of state as well, pretty last minute. So you guys, we definitely are working to make it happen. It's so fun when families get to go do this. My family went out to Lake Powell and got to go out on the river or on the lake there and play around. So that's prudent parenting, absolutely. So I hope I answered that question as far as yes and no, depending on how the permission is granted.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question. We want to ride four-wheelers. Has that ever been approved?
It has been approved, but that's a tough one. So again, you know, what's going to help you with that is, you know, what safety do you take with your own family? So letting them know that piece, you know, let them know that your family always wears helmets. Stuff like that is going to really help your case. And so, again, on a case-by-case basis, we have age appropriate. So for younger kids, we've pretty consistently seen this denied. But for, you know, a 12-year-old and making the case, you know, the other kids in my home, they all do it too. It's really unfair for the foster kid not to participate, and he wants to. You know, this is what we've done to kind of educate on safety. So yes, we have, but it is a harder one.
I think one of the questions to ask is, how well do you know this kiddo? You know, if this 12-year-old came into your home last week, we're probably going to say push pause. Let's get to know this kid a little bit better. Is he a daredevil? Does he follow rules? Will he keep his helmet on? Et cetera, et cetera. So we want you to know the kid to be able to predict what that activity is going to look like. Some of those too are on the high risk. I don't know if it's Surgeon General. I know that some things are on the Surgeon General high risk activity list, and then the counties each have their own. But it really is kind of case by case, kid by kid, family by family, county worker by family, county worker. So ask. I guess that would be my advice is let's ask. Why not?
Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, we do live in Western Colorado. A lot of families engage in four-wheeling and fun things like that. And the whole idea of prudent parenting is to kind of equal the playing field. And so you guys can use this language to help make your case. Because that's one that, you know, if that's what peers are doing, if that's what siblings in the house are doing, you know, we have a pretty good case. And we'll fight it for you if that's kind of what is really important to you.
It's more, I think, detrimental to the kiddo to you can't come because you're a foster kid. Those are the comments that stick with those kids forever. I've heard adults say that. You can't go on vacation with us because you're a foster kid. He was in his 30s and remembered that comment. So that's what we want to fight for is can they be a regular part of your family?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Kyle, they had the K-Mills, they had a big family trip to Ireland canceled this summer because of, you know, I assume, Kyle, because of COVID. So
that would have been amazing.
So yes, we're talking about prudent parenting and all these things we want to do, but some of it's going to be held up with COVID anyways. But yes, Kyle, hopefully you get to go to a national park or California. Still not Ireland, but
no, not the same.
And then the Lives have commented that they've gone out of state with a couple kiddos and that they've gotten four-wheeler approval too in the past. So, I mean, it's not an automatic no.
What are some things that you could guess or think of that might fall under prudent parenting?
Yeah, that'd be great to know, guys. Like, what are some things that you maybe are curious about or think that? Yeah.
So I feel like a fun one, I supervise the group centers here in Grand Junction, and some of the stuff that we see there is kind of typical teen stuff. We have kids wanting to dye their hair, wanting to get piercings, wanting to get tattoos, driver's license, you know, a whole bunch of different stuff that, you know, is pretty age appropriate and typical or wanting to participate in social media.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we look at, what is safe for their case, and then that bubble.
Yep, that bubble.
What can we get the team to approve? Kind of where do their parents stand? Where does kind of caseworker, GAL? At the end of the day, all of those things on that list I've had approved in different cases, but I've also had all of those things denied at different points too. So.
Yeah. Well, it was just funny because Mary Libas commented that she's gotten 4-wheeler approval and out-of-state approval, but she says the one I really would like to get approved is swimming in a lake.
Interesting.
So
there's no lifeguards at the lake, though. I guess would be.
Well, and it depends on what lake.
Yeah.
Highline Lake, I'm pretty sure does have lifeguards sometimes.
I think it depends on the lake and if there's a ton of boats out and things like
Yeah.
that. So
And I know kind of that's a flat approval to go back to that first question. So I know the Daisy Center, my teen girl group center, we have approval to go to Highline Lake.
Oh.
And they've also gone to Ridgeway State Park. They've gone camping there and gone to swim and boat in that lake. And that's an approval just because it's an activity that they like to consistently do in the summer. We have caseworkers sign when they come in and get approval for that right away. On the group center side, we have to have a lifeguard on staff is one of the precautions that we put in there. This is something that we do with ours, so we always have a lifeguard that is present, but have gotten that approval.
And yeah, Joe Stratton said we need to ensure that they're wearing life jackets. Yes, yes.
Thank you for the reminder. And you guys, my big one is
Booties.
helmets, biking helmets for any,
Yeah.
Scooters, for rollerblades, for skateboards, for any of the stuff.
Yeah,
with
and
helmets.
if you need that equipment,
Let us know.
we'll get you that equipment.
We will. We'll make sure that kids have the equipment to be safe.
Yeah, and Joe also asked, it's kind of an interesting one because of the COVID, going to the drive-in movies, because I know that they were shut down and then they were opened and then back open, so.
Now they're showing like Jurassic Park. The good,
Drive-in is one, I don't feel that you need permission
I
ahead of
don't
time to go to the
I
drive-in.
don't either.
That's one I love. I feel like that would be such a great family activity. Right now, it's super safe. You're in your own car with your
Yep.
own kind of secluded
Your own
group.
snacks,
And
your own, yep.
And I
yeah,
know,
it's nice hearing it's open. I want to go now.
Go.
yeah, I know that the facilities themselves are taking precautions for that, like
Yeah.
they're limiting car
I don't think you can put your chairs outside your cars either,
Mhm.
which I know a lot of people do.
Oh.
But you have to stay in your cars. But this week is Jurassic Park and Back to the Future.
Some good old
Just drove by
ones.
there, I know.
Yeah.
One of the things we are running into is our teenagers' friends are starting to get their licenses, and we are running into whether it's prudent to let her ride with other teens who have their license. And I know the Colorado law is
Yeah.
pretty strict when
Yeah.
it comes to teen drivers.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's another one from the
It's
Himmel.
super strict when it comes to teen drivers. So
And
I
pretty
actually,
clear.
and pretty clear. And I cannot cite it. My kids
So-
are too young for
But
that one.
I guess-
Your kids are too young, my kid's older. You probably know too.
Well, I get and my kids are in Utah.
Oh, so it's different over there.
But I assume he's talking about, you're at school and you want to run to Taco Bell or McDonald's.
So
I
the
think
law is
Typically,
that
it's not allowed. They have to have their license for a certain amount of time
until they're 18,
before-
so they have to be 18, except for, here's a good point, if they're not related to you or in your family. So I wonder if foster kids would fall under, like if your foster brother was 16 or 17, he's a senior, and you're a freshman, you're 14 or 15, can you ride with them? Being part of the same family? That's a good question, I don't know.
It's a good question, and we have one case where we have had approval. Where
Yeah.
we had, I believe she was 18 at the time, that we did get approval for foster kids to drive with her. But again, that was that bubble, and it was a hard one to kind of convince
I
them.
bet.
We also, sometimes it depends on where you're at in the case. That was a case where they were fairly close to adoption.
Yeah.
And we're saying, we're going to do this as soon as we adopt them. But this is what makes it work. We have to be able to do this to kind of get to events, other things. It is just not fair. And we did get approval. But
So
you know,
again, age.
I'm trying to
and
remember. I'm
case.
guessing it was post TPR, but I'm
Because
thinking back to the
once
case.
they're 18, I think they can take unrelated kids in their car, but no more than.
Yeah.
It's,
Post TPR is a little bit easier because we don't have to then get the biological parent permission, which caseworkers have really gotten a little bit stricter on in recent years of really kind of closing that loop. So it will depend.
yeah, and I know that it's probably because, unfortunately with prudent parenting, it's because they're in foster care, we are following the laws a little more strict, and other parents aren't at school.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
Some teens take a very loose reading of the laws.
Yes.
and-
What about driver's license getting? Have you had a lot of kids actually go and get?
We've had some, the struggle that we have come up with driver's license is when they have their permit, really, who can they practice the hours with? We have quite a few families that are willing to kind of get the kid on their insurance and to give driver's license. We have others that aren't comfortable with that.
So they have to go on the foster parents' auto insurance.
So, well, they have to be in somebody's auto insurance.
Okay.
And we've had a combination. We've had kids who've gotten their own auto insurance. We've had kids who've gotten back on biological parents' auto insurance. We had a GAL once that was willing to do hours with the kid and drive with them. I had a CASA worker one time. I had another kid who was able to get her permit but didn't have anybody to drive with.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of our sticking point.
The tricky part is sometimes they have the younger siblings in the house, and can they, as a permit driver, drive with younger foster kids in their car?
I don't know about that one.
Again, I don't know, because the home that I had most recently didn't have younger kids. And so again, some of this stuff is case by case.
Right.
Yes.
I love these questions.
I know.
Didn't
have all the
talk
answers.
with your team.
Yeah, because Joe said, yes, my daughter drove one of ours to school at one point. So I think it is it's case by case. Oh, good. Sheeper's on. Sorry. This is one I wanted to cover because it's important. I'm not ignoring other comments, but can teenagers go hunting with us, or do we need to get permission for that?
Bum, bum, bum. That's a big one.
It's a big one.
Go ahead, Becca.
I'm gonna
I'm gonna let you have that one.
Everybody who knows me well. I mean, I am fairly guns make me really uncomfortable. So that's a hard one. We have had kids that we have gotten permission. And so how we've gotten permission is not only have kind of parents, family, other siblings in the home gone through kind of hunter safety courses. We've also had the foster kids ahead of time go through, as well as the most recent case was a post-TPR case, which makes it a little bit easier. Again, it just depends on who the players on your team are and kind of where their comfort level, other things. But it's not an automatic no. It is a big conversation, and that one takes a while.
That one is a bigger thing. I mean, all you need to know is one situation, a gun tragedy. That's all you need to know. And unfortunately, somebody close to my family did. So it just makes you super paranoid and cautious, which I think a lot of workers are. But I've had families say, can they go to hunting camp and not hunt? And have seen get around that way too, because hunting camp is just camping. They're not going out with the guns. So again, ask the question.
Yeah, I think, someone said they had kiddos asked to join hunting, but wasn't sure how to go about that. I think our first place would always talk to your area worker.
Yep.
So that we can get that started.
Yep.
And that conversation going. But when it's hunting and guns, it can be tricky.
Everybody's very cautious.
It's really tricky, and the majority of times we've asked, no has been the answer on that one.
Yep.
So always ask your aerial caseworker, and we can get going.
Absolutely. But then, if not, think of something else fun to do. Instead, go camping without the guns.
Yeah, like the Munger said, the drive-in has saved their family for outings, which is wonderful because it's not a visit or therapy. I can imagine.
Pretty glorious.
Place to go, right?
Do you guys have any more questions, specifics or general?
What about cell phones, Becca? That's another doozy.
It's another doozy. The reality is we have several kids in foster care with cell phones. We have kids that come in with cell phones. I wrote a very long phone contract. It's got to be at least 5 or 6 years old, maybe older than that. I'm going to date myself here. That we sit down for cell phones.
For Daisy Center, though? Is that where it started? Because they have one, too.
It really started with foster kids.
Okay.
That I had a teen home when I was a case manager, so it actually had to be more like 8 years ago. But really kind of setting out some guidelines, some different rules. They have to be willing to give us passwords. They have to be willing to have it checked. Be willing to kind of engage in safe practices, educate them a little bit about safe practices, different things. Cell phones, my big thing on them, they are a privilege. They are not a right.
Yes.
Different families have different beliefs. We honor all of your beliefs. We will support you in that.
Yeah.
So it's something that, I think kids can earn. It's also something that can be taken away. That even if they bought it with their own money, it doesn't mean that they kind of have that ownership over it. They could still lose it.
Yep.
So cell phones are definitely something that we can get approved with the team. We have some kids, because of where they're at with their case or developmentally where it's just not appropriate, the teams are absolutely no. So it just depends.
And again, you can put rules around it, like, you know, the phones go in the kitchen at 9 o'clock for everybody. Or you can put different software on there to eliminate. Funny story. I put it on my son's when he was like 12, and I put it so strict he couldn't even look at dinosaurs because there was one that had blood. He's like, for crying out loud, Mom. So, but you can put safety perimeters on it.
And your kids will then also turn the rules back on you. One of our family rules that we've always talked about that actually started because my husband was the main offender, not me, even though he's got the old flip phone.
Right.
But no phones at the dinner table. They can't be seen,
yeah.
and they need to be turned off and put away prior.
Yep.
And I, at one point when I was backup, did answer, and it's partly where kind of we moved in to like give backup kind of an hour of leeway, because my son, he was like, no, this was your
We
rule.
had a rule, Mom.
No phones at the dinner table.
But yeah,
So-
if you have those rules, absolutely, we will respect those rules and help enforce them for you guys.
Yeah. And thank you, Kyle. He says that his teen's been getting it, and Sarah, our wonderful caseworker, has been helped facilitating the process, and it's been a long process.
The phone, yeah.
The driver's license.
Oh, driver's license, okay.
But he thinks that it's helped her feel more comfortable driving. So, just the whole process. So.
Sure, good. What else? What other kind of questions?
I mean, I don't see any on here, but a lot of that has come up. I think where a lot of prudent parenting started with sports and after-school activities.
You know, I've been doing this long enough that we had a kid that I feel like it was up in Paonia or some small community, was such like a fabulous basketball player and won a scholarship and couldn't get his picture in the newspaper. And I remember just feeling so devastated. We like made a big old deal internally for him so that he felt good about that accomplishment. But that was heartbreaking for that kid to not be able to get his name in the newspaper and his picture. And he had such a great accomplishment. So we've come a long way since then. You know, those kids deserve that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Samantha Blake commented about possibly being, you know, because you mentioned CPR or not lifeguard training, and maybe it's something Ariel can put on. I mean, we don't have any lifeguard trainers, but I think that
we might be able to find one.
Yeah, find
But
one.
we have some funding. So Sherry Sherman funds. We have funding for foster parents, or for for kids, for different things, to get training. So
Sure.
please, you guys talk to your area case managers. We've had kids go through babysitting courses. We've had kids get their CNA that we've paid for.
That's great.
Lifeguarding, I would love to
That
pay
is
for
cool.
somebody to become a lifeguard.
Yeah, a parent, or if one of the families had an older teen or something, it'd be really fun.
My foster sister from 20 plus years ago, who I still maintain contact with, that's what she did when she was in high school. So she became a lifeguard.
Yeah, you have a job, absolutely.
Yeah, had a job, and then even all through college, she worked at kind of the lifeguard at her college. And I mean, it's a great job skill, other things. So
Yeah, it would be a really, so if this is the case, again, your aerial worker, we sit in meetings and we have a family that wants to do this, and we try to come up with ways that we can get that done. So
yes, we want to support you guys. We love hearing kind of when you want to go to trainings or different
We
things,
love it.
and
We love
we'll make it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't hit on is, and that the state did mention, is religious services. I think services would not be the correct term, but like changing affiliations or denominations or making a proclamation in your faith, I think is something we have to be careful with. Like going through catechism or getting baptized or joining a movement, I think we would handle respectfully, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a part of the church and do things with the youth group. You're not proclaiming anything by going to youth group and having fun with them. But if they want to get baptized, I think that's a bigger conversation. If it's something the kid wants to do and everybody else on the team is on board, we'll try to make it happen. But it's something we don't want to do in a bubble.
yeah, also Marjorie Albright commented, what about four-wheeling and horseback riding? So we kind of did talk about four-wheeling, but horseback riding is actually a big thing in foster care.
It's a big thing. Well, and equine therapy has become really big in recent years. We have a foster home where the adopted kid and our foster kid both have their own horses, which make me so jealous.
Right?
But we have quite a few homes with livestock. I got to go hold a baby goat this week when I did a home inspection.
Aww.
It was so fun. So Marjorie, frustrating. I know your kid was participating in some really cool, fancy acrobatic tricks. I'm not even sure what the name of it is on horses and different things.
Wow.
And we've struggled to get kind of approval for some of that. Again, it depends not just on your case. Some of it is counties. Some counties are more willing to kind of work around and kind of hear the prudent parenting. Others are very just adamant and will shoot us down. So some of it does depend, but I've seen it go both ways. I've seen counties that have not allowed kind of horse stuff. I've seen others who have even suggested it and recommended. Can we explore equine? Could we look at getting kind of lessons and different things? So please, you guys, one of the biggest takeaways from tonight, just ask. Talk to your aerial case manager, make your own cases. Let us know kind of why you feel it's safe, why you would let your own kids do this, or why your own kids are already doing this. And
there's actually questions on this old training. Does the child know who to call in case of an emergency? Does the child have medical needs? Do they know how to communicate those? Do they understand the expectations about curfew and approval? Can this child or youth self-protect? So there's some, those are some things you need to think through a little bit more than kids that aren't in foster care. You gotta kind of think through a little bit more. So there's a great list. If you guys want these questions, we can get them to Christy. How are we on time? We've been very chatty, Becca.
We're always chatty, as well as we haven't seen each other.
I know.
To be in a room with people.
6:27.
Oh, we did so good. We should do about half an hour. So, just to tie it up, if you guys don't have any other questions, or you still can have them, pop them in there. But again, the practice for Ariel doesn't change. We want to be in communication with what you guys are doing. Even if it doesn't fall under prudent parenting, we just like to know you're going camping for the weekend. Monday we have a meeting with you and you don't show up. We need to kind of know where you've been. We want to be able to communicate. Yeah, we know they went up on the mesa and this is where they were at. So it's just the bubble. We want to be a support. We want to know what you're doing. You live in a fishbowl. I've heard that term, but it's not because we're spying on you. It's because we really want to support you and help you guys be successful.
Absolutely. All right, well, we will say goodbye. Thank you guys for all that you're doing. I love hearing about the fun summer activities that are happening despite this pandemic and some of the restrictions. But I know you guys are getting out there. I've even seen foster parents. I was biking up the monument and saw foster parents and two kids that were getting ready to kind of hike Devil's Kitchen. And I stopped and chatted. So it's so fun seeing you guys expose our kids, because unfortunately a lot of our kids haven't had this exposure before. And so I just have so much respect for all that you guys are doing, and thank you guys for that.
She means exposure to
the world, culturally, activity.
Not COVID.
No, not COVID. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate you guys being safe and limiting their exposure to COVID, but still
active.
exposing them to
activities,
recreation, and things that your family enjoy and that typical kids do enjoy, and some of our kids haven't gotten experience before.
Yep.
All right, signing off. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.